Wade, Schofield, Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about Walmart. Walmart is a very, very large company. What Walmart does, and especially in some small southern towns, which I pass through often, is they come into these towns, they set up Walmart, and inside Walmart they've got a grocery, they've got a pharmacy, they've got everything. They've got shops, retail. They basically put all the little shops in the town out of business. That's essentially what the large corporations like DuPont are doing. When they are putting patents on on other indigenous crops that have been growing for I don't know how long, that maybe even 1,000 years, what they're doing is they're monopolizing. I don't know why we try to monopolize everything. We're a giant monolith that wants to create one giant, or at least very large corporations sometimes. I'm not trying to generalize. They will try to monopolize and make like one solid product. You know their name. Like, I mean, come on, Macintosh, everyone knows the Apple logo. Children when they're 2 years old can say Apple. They can't say IBM, they don't know letters. It's a marketing ploy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am in strong support of this proposal. This not only helps out it's almost the smaller businesses, so to speak, but it not only repairs the image, I think, of our corporations, but also of America in general. I think this is a great idea. It went way over my head when I first read it, but I think I kind of get it now. And really, I applaud it greatly. I don't know what this is, but with that, I move passage strongly, and I yield my time to the chair. Thank you.
Emily Stanway, Republic of Texas. I'd like to question the proposal author.
Would you like to ask them if they yield? Please say, like, would the author yield?
Would the author yield to
the author yield?
Questions?
Yes.
Does the current treaty encourage genetically modified crops?
It does not take an official stance, however, it does nothing to encourage or discourage.
Could you re-explain how this limits diversity?
Because of the patents on the crops, and because of the fact that these companies now have a monopoly on them and seek to gain a profit, and these farmers are now at a disadvantage for gaining a profit because they can no longer plant these crops for free, some different methods, or through different methods, such as slash and burn, they clear entire fields of many diverse crops and other species, and they plant this one. So this affects all animals which eat these plants and crops, and affects the farmers because if any blight comes along, because none of these are genetically modified and are therefore susceptible to disease, if any blight comes along and destroys these crops, you destroy the farmer's ability to live, the animal's ability to live.
Thank you. And do some companies patent crops that have not been genetically modified?
Yes, due to various reasons such as government corruption, they do get away with patenting naturally occurring
And do
plants.
companies currently have to openly declare how they alter their crops?
Yes, if you are patenting a genetically modified crop, you explain why it's a novel idea, which would include the modification.
And you said that Monsanto and DuPont have tried to claim patents on crops that they have not modified?
Yes.
What research do you have to say that Monsanto and DuPont have not modified their crops?
I'm sorry, please repeat.
What research do you have to say Monsanto and DuPont, the claims they made for patents, have not modified the crops?
There are various accounts throughout the media that, and there are many well-knowns, that they both patented genetically modified crops, which they do own, and they have also made many attempts, theirs in some cases have been unsuccessful, to patent indigenous crops across the world for the sake of research.
Okay, thank you.
Meg Hall, Tennessee.
Delegates. Thank you.
And I reserve my right to yield time to a fellow delegate.
Name?
Ethan from Tennessee.
Thank you.
Okay, fellow delegates, in today's world, we have to have a global awareness and an understanding of the plight of people around the world. We send countries money and food all the time, but they just don't seem to do too much good. These third world countries need our help, and frankly, this is the way to do it. We have to help these people, protect them from the source of their problems, and that's what this bill is trying to do. How can we expect them to become self-sustaining when on every turn we're forcing them to pay money to our already affluent nation? These companies are forming monopolies in these third world countries that they don't have the money or the stability to pay. We're sabotaging them from the very beginning. This is completely unacceptable. We have to pass this proposal, not necessarily just for our sake, but for the sake of everybody around the world. I yield time to Jason.
You yield 50 seconds.
Chrissy Thiessen, Tennessee. My fellow delegates, I feel this is a very socially relevant proposal in our increasingly globalized and environmentally aware world. Not only that, but I would just like to stress that these companies do not deserve the patents. They did not do anything to the plants. They didn't modify them, they didn't change anything, they didn't develop new technologies or innovations. These plants already existed and were being cultivated by indigenous people who, with little to no warning, have to now pay a fee in order to continue their way of life, which, on the whole, doesn't give them very much surplus money to begin with. With that in mind, I highly encourage you to pass this proposal and yield my time to the chair.
Great, Family of Alabama. Will the patron yield to a possible series of questions, and I'd like to reserve my right to pass the floor to Delegate Howard from New York.
Will the author yield?
Yes.
What I'm trying to understand this a little bit more, if someone gets a patent on something that they're trying to research, can someone still plant the crops while they're researching the DNA?
Yes. What happens is the company
Okay,
owns...
so if they can still plant while they're researching the DNA, what's the problem? Because, so if they change it
Can I answer
after
your
they
question
change
of
the
what the
DNA,
problem is?
if they change the DNA and then they have a genetically altered plant, can the farmers plant the original plant?
No. As long as the company has illegally purchased the right to the original crop, the farmer still has to pay to plant it in the first place.
Okay. So if someone's genetically testing something, they've got the patent rights are just to the DNA strain, right?
The patent right is to the species.
Okay. Then that's just the chamber. I really don't understand what this proposal does. From what I understand, I could be understanding it wrong, I accept that, but from what I understand is that people have to buy the rights into the DNA strain. And while they have this DNA strain, they're trying to do testing on it to genetically alter it. Once you genetically alter it, then you patent what you have genetically altered, no one else can plant that with you. I don't see how this limits people from planting the original species to start with, and therefore I don't necessarily see the necessity of this proposal. I would like for the author to clarify that in our closing if possible.
Thank you.
Pass the floor to Delegate Howard from New York.
You have 25 seconds.
Joseph Howard, New York. I'd just like to bring to everyone's attention that I applaud this, but they're going about it the wrong way. There's a similar piece of legislation called that deals with invasive species which destroy ecosystems. Australia is the only place that has a piece of legislation that only tells which plants you can bring instead of which plants that you cannot.
Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Does the Speaker yield to a series of questions?
Will the author yield?
Yes. Is it true that when patents on plants, genes are established, monopolies are created and these companies can charge ridiculously high royalties?
Extremely true.
Is it true that the USPTO said that anything under the sun made by man is patentable subject material?
Also true.
So then, these natural occurring plants already patented would be illegal,
Correct.
which would mean that these patents would be null and void.
Yep.
And, can I just...
Okay, as you're right.
These companies establish patents and then they charge whatever they like, and what they like is a lot of money. These patents hamper and impede progress and go against the spirit of patents themselves. I'm in strong favor of this proposal, and I urge you to pass it in order to maintain patent dignity and the livelihood of farmers. Thank you, and I yield my time to the chair.